Hi everybody, how are you all? Thank you for joining me. Let's see who's with me. And some of you have been up. You see, I never know whether some of you have just not gone to bed, in all honesty. So, well, Alan's with me. Hello, Alan. And he's been posting as always. Alan, do you do anything else but post for us all? And the prisoner. And I say it every week, have you not escaped yet? Anyway, let's see who else is here with me. Bitchin's here. He's saying good morning, campers. Nice. It's nice to know that Bitchin's alive, actually, after last St. Patrick's Day, which he renamed St. Bitchin's Day, apparently. So he was, during my show last week, he was off to the pub with a packet of chips. I just don't know what to say to some of you, really don't. And, after all this nutrition information and health information, you still go off and have a packet of chips. So, Jimmy, nice to see you. Duck, the Duck's with us. And how are your slingbacks, Duck? I know you and Bitchin. Well, you look like a bit of an item the other week. I thought I was setting up a dating site. Never mind running a radio show. My hat, my coat, get your coat. He's here, or she. Hello. I never know. This is the thing. You all have these names. I never know. And Kazza told me off. Kazza told me off the other week. So I'm just going to play it safe and just go for that whole androgynous thing, I think. Lee, and the snow's here. Indeed, the snow is here. I got up this morning and did a double take and went and put my contact lenses on just to check. My dog was just looking at me thinking, isn't it spring? And I'm like, yeah, get your coat on. Anyway, who else have we got? Anna's here. Yep, I'm definitely doing a show today. Hello, Anna. Nice to see you. And let me see. Softy, morning. Josh. And Softy, you're telling everybody I'm on. In fact, I haven't even told everyone who it is. This is TNS Radio. This is Deborah Walker. And my show's called Food for Thought. That's what I try and do. Really eclectic mix of stuff. In all honesty, it's everything that I'm interested in. I'm a naturopathic nutritionist by trade, as I say. And but I do lots of other things. So my interest levels go all over the place. It really does. There's a little donate button on the left-hand side of the screen to the chat box. Come on, donate. We rely on donations to keep us going. Obviously, if you don't like us, don't donate. Obviously. If you want us to shut us up in any way. But it's probably better to just not donate rather than just hack into us. That's probably a better place to be. Anyway, there's a little Facebook thing there. Share that we're on. Share that we're sharing loads of information. There is loads of information on TNS. There really is. You've got some cracking shows that go on. Freeman Jack Show, absolutely brilliant. One of my favourites. Vin, a mine of information. I have to say that about Vin. He's the boss. Let me see who else. And Johnny had a really interesting show last week with Stingray. Let's see. Is Stingray around? Is the captain here? Captain Stingray is here. And he was talking about Mark Bowen and his connections. Famous connections, after all. So, yes, some of us were in the background listening to you, Stingray. And I didn't fall asleep once, which was fantastic. Right. And Bitchin saying, back off, Debs. Well, it's nice to know that you got yourself out of the pub. Or did someone come and get you? Yeah. And, Sovereignty's busy making a fry up right now. Nice. Yep, and Lee, we're all skint, Debbie. Just got to change our reality then, haven't we? At some stage I know that we can do. Look, you just got to listen to Freeman Jack's show. It's all about, he talks about all the Tom Campbell stuff and everything. Let's create our reality. And Lee's got loads of love to spare. Thank you. Is that the way my show's going this week again? It's actually going to end up with everyone dating each other at some stage. Right. And what else? And Anna's saying use hashtags. I'll be honest, I don't like hash browns. I don't agree with hash browns, I have to say. They're very bad for you. And I imagine that Softy's going to probably be adding them to his breakfast as we speak. Anyway. All get in the chat box, all start sharing. I love to talk to you all. You're all really funny. Keep me laughing. Keeps me going, doesn't it, for 2 hours. Got no interviews at the moment. If you know of anybody who would be interesting to interview, then send me their details, because at the moment nobody's saying yes to me. Isn't that shameful? But I am off tomorrow to go and have a look at the Vitality show, so hopefully I'll pick up some more people to chat away to, and to share our information, share their information with. And Johnny's saying he's free and single. And is that, well, going by your picture, Johnny, is that you on your picture? Because no wonder, that's all I'm going to say. Right, and Lee's saying he's never twittered. Get yourself out there. Come on, let's tweet. Right. So, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about all sorts, to be honest. Stuff that's just really interesting me. I know a couple of you aren't very well. I've got a few clients at the moment with a little bit of flu and stuff like this. We're going through seasonal changes. Most of you know the equinox was on the 21st, or around the 21st nowadays. And, and some of you got colds. So, I'm going to just chat away a little bit about the flu jab, because you know what? It just hacks me right off, the flu jab. It really, really does. Health agencies just constantly tell, everyone, to go and get a flu jab. In fact, I do believe that it's only a matter of time before they're giving our pets flu jabs. If they could give my dog a flu jab, I'm sure they would do, on top of every other jab, that booster vaccination. They suck us all in with these booster vaccinations with pets, and then guess what? We're now having all these vaccinations, children's masses and masses of vaccinations. They're busy telling us it's safe and effective, and they are very, very convincing when there's not. Research was done not so long ago which showed that most health workers wouldn't have it themselves. In fact, research was done, I think, going back a few years now, which showed that all the chemo, people who were giving out chemo and radiation, all those therapies around cancer, that most doctors wouldn't put their own families through that themselves. Absolutely astonishing. Do it to the rest of you, but not to themselves. Anyway, but most health workers won't have these jabs themselves. They don't want them. And I know when I was working, I was speaking to a few health workers, and they were basically saying how they were being forced. They could only keep their jobs if basically they were having these jabs. So people, and in the American military, they have to have them in the military. I'm not sure whether it's the same over here, but I know over there it definitely is like that. And God knows what they pump into the poor military at times anyway. Let's face it, they're all used as guinea pigs. But, back in 2002, the Associated Press were basically saying that 70% of doctors and nurses wouldn't have these jabs themselves. 70%. That's a huge amount back then. Do as I say, not as I do. That's basically the message, isn't it? Let's face it. But I feel for these guys, I really do. If you're in a job like that and then you're only fed one side of the information, in effect, that's all you're going to know. And therefore, they're going to be far more behind, having these things happen than not having these things happen. I said a few years ago, I was asked to go with a friend to have, when their children were one of their child was being vaccinated. And the doctor was very, very convincing. She was basically being bullied into getting her children vaccinated, and they were saying, in effect, they would have to get social services involved and stuff like this. So I went along, and I just said one thing to the doctor, which was basically, do you get financially rewarded for having a higher vaccination rate from, happening within your clinic? He had no answer for it, because of course they do. There you go. So, profits before people, unfortunately. I feel for them, because they're having their freedom of choice taken away from them, these health workers, by being told that to continue working, they have to have the vaccinations themselves. So then, they're going to become more supportive of those vaccinations. Personally, you know what? I'd give up my job. My health is far more important to me, because guess what? My immunity works really, really well without a flu jab, or without the swine flu jab, or whatever they're now pushing. I've noticed that's now on the increase again. And I don't even want to talk about that due to my own family issues around, the swine flu jabs. Gosh, don't even get me the going. The illness I see once these jabs happen is just astonishing. So let's see what's being said in the chat box. Oh gosh, Johnny, apparently he needs a bit. much. But the captain's saying, choose you, choose you. I can see it's turned into a dating site already. What are you all like? Honestly, I despair of you. I really do. You make me laugh, though. Lee, what are you saying there? Probably because I'm a terroristic naturopath. I endorse good health. Very bad. It is. It's all, but for me, health is dead easy. It doesn't have to be difficult. It really doesn't at all. That's the great thing about health. You do the right things, your body will do the rest. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I try not to make health complicated. Lots of, I could make the nutrition far more complicated, and, lots of the other therapies I work with really complicated. But fundamentally, I do simple things with my clients that work. It really does boil down to just a handful of things. And if you have got far more chronic layered issue that's been happening for a number of years, then yes, my approaches get more complicated, more complex, and with what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But fundamental good health actually comes down to just a natural diet, hydration levels, and making sure you're getting out into the light and eliminating. It isn't that difficult. So I'm a terrific naturopath. That's what I am. Even if I do say so myself. But look at my testimonials on my website. They say it as well. Hoorah. Anyway, so, and Lee's saying dogs have the same strains and poisons as we do in their vaccinations, just milder forms. It is shameful what they do to dogs. These boosters every single year. Absolutely unnecessary. In fact, when unfortunately, when I got my dog from the rescue home, they'd vaccinated her, and as they always do, they basically make sure that she can't breed. And I was really upset to learn that she'd been automatically vaccinated. And I was given this card which said I had to get her vaccinated every single year. And of course, I get this thing through from the vet, and the vet says, "So you have to get her vaccinated every year." So I stand there and I go, "Why?" Because in the print of this vaccination, my understanding is that actually it lasts for nearly 15 years. So tell me why I have to get it. Oh, it's a booster. What does it boost specifically? Have these conversations, because I think you might find that most vets can't actually answer it. That's the thing about it. When you start to drill down and find out why, and it's just a money-making exercise. And of course, once they got everybody used to their pets having boosters, guess what? They'll start to do the same thing with us. All of a sudden, everything will need boosting. Oh. Yeah, and Johnny's saying, I know a few people who've had the flu. Yeah, just let it, run its course. You don't have to do a lot with flu. You've just got to make sure you're looking after yourselves, keep him warm, sweat it out of you, that sort of thing. Use the old-fashioned techniques in regards to, things like your colonics, your enemas, which is what we tend to use. Making sure your elimination cycle's working, sweating. We often do baths which make people sweat. We do the cold. What's it called? It's cold sheets, where we'll wrap ourselves in cold sheets so that it raises the temperature of the body, therefore it makes it sweat, so you sweat it out. You need to do these with other people around there. That's the thing. You can't do this on your own. The same with if you're getting into hot baths. You need to make sure your head is wrapped in cold towels to keep the brain cold, because you're heating your body up. But in effect, you're mimicking what flu would do, which is raise your temperature to kill off the bacteria, which is effectively what it's doing. That's what it's aiming to do. It raises your temperature purposefully so that you sweat it out of you. And make sure you've got your fluids, your potassium broths, those sorts of things. Simple foods. Keep it really simple. Sometimes you'll want to eat, sometimes you'll want to fast. If you feel like fasting, fast. Make sure you've got people around you if you're fasting there and they know that you're doing that. It's, you need to make sure if you are ill that someone supports you using those techniques and can keep an eye on you whilst you are using them. If you have got flu, it can be that you come off your supplements and come off any foods that are kind of slowing your system down, or it may be that you put certain supplements in, higher antioxidants, things like that. But you want to lighten your foods right down so that your body can actually spend its energy healing over, in effect, spending it eating, because energy given to eating is actually quite high. So you just want to rest. Rest is absolutely key. So, let's see. So Lee's saying, but dogs and cats can transmit over to humans. There's been a few cases. Yeah, these things happen at the end of the day. But I don't need to get my dog vaccinated. She has got a high immune system. What is probably, I say she's 13. I think she must be 14 now. I've been on the show over a year. So, she looks great. Health is really, really good. So, and immunity's high. As long as I put the right foods in, her immunity stays high. We all have our own basic immunity. It grows over the years and things like this as we come into contact with bacteria and everything. This is how we build our immunity up. That's what's meant to happen. We don't need vaccinations, in all honesty. We really don't. They don't actually create immunity anyway. It's just rubbish. And maybe one of the admins can write back to Anna for me. Anna's asking about the emails and that she's getting. So hopefully there's an admin going on in the one of you's in the box who might be able to answer that question. Let me see. Yeah, Sovereignty. I'm watching Mum and Dad slowly dying in the trust of good doctors, Derbs, and I'm a tinfoil hat wearer, a lunatic that knows nothing. I had an interesting time when my father was dying. So the same thing with doctors who just spoke to us like we were stupid. And it was one of the most interesting and saddening moments of my life, watching doctors who really were just making the situation worse, not better. But of course you can't say anything. So let's see. Anna saying thank you, bitching. Okay, what have you been doing, bitching behind the scenes? Blimey. Anyway. So Lee's saying, try not to let your dog's nose near your face. That's where it'll be germinating in the nasal mucus. Thanks for that, Lee. I'll try and I won't. I don't let her near me. I'll tell her later what you've said. Not allowed near me. But what if she ever gets up out of bed? To be honest, my dog very rarely gets out of bed. And Johnny's saying, doesn't vaccinate his dogs. He started MMS on the dog. That's really interesting. How's the dog responded to that, and how much have you given the dog? That would be interesting to know. Okay, Johnny, so can you give us that information in the box? That would be really, really useful. And Lee saying, I believe they're deliberately giving dogs cancers too. Don't even get me onto that. And Jake saying, hot whiskey. My mother used to send us off to school every day with a hot whiskey in winter. So I'm sure my mother would agree with you, Jake. So let's see. And the captain is saying he uses MMS for his bronchitis that he had. Apparently he had a hideous one. I just think of you as the werewolf now. So I'm just wondering, was it a barking cough you had? I should take it more seriously. I'm really sorry. At least his dog's blue now. Through the MMS. Is that too much colloidal silver you've been giving your dog? Or is it just that you've sent it through a blue rinse? Anyway, right. What was I thinking of? I was talking about flu jabs, that was it. Now, the thing that I find really interesting is that people often giving these jabs are often telling everyone that they're putting the rest of the community at risk if they don't have it. which is all the herd immunity issue. But surely, if you don't have it, you're the only person at risk, not the rest of the community. I find that really an upside down argument that I'd struggle to get my head around. And when people say it to me with a really straight face, I find it very hard to not start laughing about it. So you're saying that by me not being vaccinated, you're all going to get ill, but you've had the vaccination. Explain that. Surely if you've had that jab, it takes the risk away. No? Yes? Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, I don't know. I don't know where the sense is behind some of this, but people say it with a really straight face and are very convincing. That's the thing. And for a medical sector that basically holds everyone over the coals for if they haven't got science-backed claims. Now, science-backed claims are everything nowadays. If you say anything and it doesn't have science efficacy behind it, they're all over you like an absolute rash, particularly the alternative community. If I say anything on here, it's not science-backed, then I'm just, the emails I get afterwards are just astonishing. But, and from the pods of people saying, oh, well, that's not science-backed. In fact, someone once told me that the vitamin C information I'd given out wasn't science-backed about the Linus Pauling and antibiotics. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But, the myths around vaccinations and their efficacy are huge. It's built on mythology, as far as I can tell. Fantasy and mythology really, really is. It's far more built on profiteering vaccinations than actual science. There are numerous studies showing that the flu vaccine isn't, in comparison to Mother Nature, an effective way to prevent influenza. And also, the real-life experiences of people who have had the vaccine-related health issues show the reality that flu vaccines are not without serious risks. That's the other thing. And mostly, I have people who say to me, oh, I had my flu vaccination and I've been ill since. But no. It wasn't the vaccination. No, they've been back to the doctor. No, it's not the vaccination. It's just that they were going to get it anyway. You're not allowed to make that correlation at all. The thing is that even after having these jabs, the research shows that everyone still remains at risk of still contracting the disease, of getting flu. Now, if I was selling a product that made claims and then didn't actually deliver what it says it's meant to deliver, would you keep going back? Seriously. But people year after year after year go and get their flu jab and then will say to me, I've been ill again this year after that flu jab. And you're like, and obviously my conversation is, so why have you had it? Oh, I was told to have it. Gosh. So if I tell you to put your hand in the fire and you find out it burns you, next year will you do the same thing? This is the thing about it, you wouldn't keep going back. If you went and bought something from a supermarket and it was absolutely horrible, would you go back and have that thing again? Who knows? Where are trading standards when you actually really need them? They're just ignoring the whole vaccine issue and the whole efficacy about it. They really are. Let's see. So what else are you all saying in here? Reverend Rashes. Oh, wow. So let me go back, because Rashes is being mentioned, and that's probably in line with the MMS stuff. MMS is good for worms. I can imagine that MMS on that sort of level would be good for all sorts of things like that. I tend to use garlic with her and parasite herbs, anti-parasitical herbs. So I don't tend to use a lot of MMS, only if I really can't shift something. I think I've used it once in my practice over the years. Yeah, there's no such thing as curing flu. Josh says there's only suppressing. The more you suppress it, it goes in, it finds another route out in another way, or it becomes stored. And long term, you're just piling up the issues, because if it cannot get out of the body, it's your body throwing it off, throwing toxicity off, particularly during seasonal changes, which is when we tend to see this happening. And when that happens, if you push it back in, then it will do everything it can to find another route out. But if it can't find another route, it stores it, and it'll do everything it can to protect you and bring you into balance. But if you can't bring yourself into balance, you start to get ill. You're going to become more and more acidic. So, Lee's saying a good analogy is having a tin of blue paint thrown over them to protect them against blue paint, and they wonder why we all look at them and point and stare. Is that really a good analogy? It made me laugh anyway, but yeah. Yeah, and Sovereign's saying, Sovereign's saying, psychology's the same, Debs, a load of crap. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, just tell them you're like Bruce Willis' character in the movie Unbreakable. You never get sick. In fact, mindset plays a big part in health, in all honesty. We laugh about that, or I'm laughing about that, but actually, if you can will yourself to be ill. Look at the people we've had. Let me think. There was a doctor who did a series of knee operations, and they split people into two sectors. People who they actually did the knee operation to, and they went in and did the work, and then others where they just effectively opened the knee up and closed it, and didn't do any work inside there. And they had the same level, I think it was like the same level of repair rate happen in the knee, showing actually that most people did not need the actual surgery to happen. And most people's knees got better, but also the pain went and things like this. And only when they told them that they hadn't done the knee surgery did the pain return. So it just shows you how the mind can play games with you. And if you think that you're not well, you will think yourself ill. I see it over and over and over again. I really, really do. There's other research out there. I think there's I remember reading just a long time ago now about it was a client of a doctor who basically, he was told that he had cancer, and from the results, and in effect his health went incredibly downhill. And then the doctor basically realised they'd given him the wrong results, and so they told him it wasn't true, and he got well. And it's just, your mind will play those games with you if you can think yourself ill, if you choose to. And Bitch is saying, doubting the power of the mind, placebo effect proves the power of the mind. It does indeed, yes. Lots of the work I do is really, really simple. It's often down to mindset. If the mindset of the individual changes, then in effect, your health can change overnight. It really, really can. So, there you go. Right. I think, let me have a quick look. Yeah, and Sovereignty's saying it's a really interesting point. When people hear the C word, they dive fairly quickly through programming. And Bandler, Richard Bandler, who developed NLP, his wife, I think she had an accident or something. I can't exactly. I was listening to him in a lecture, and he talked about the fact that his wife had been given very, very poor prognosis about her recovery, and that she was very unlikely to totally recover. And he actually went mad at the doctor and was very, very angry and took his wife away from the hospital. She made a full recovery, and he brought her back to show the doctor, because as far as he was concerned, the doctor was programming his wife to effectively not get well. And I think this as well. I do think that if you're given a prognosis that you're going to die, then guess what? I've had clients turn up and basically tell me they've only got 6 months and that they just want to be supported through that time. And I go, okay. And then some of them get really well and get better, and then others effectively just say, well, I've only got 2 months left, I've only got 1 month left, and guess what? They almost die on the day. And it's very saddening to watch. So, yeah, I see that happening. So it's really, really fascinating. And Lee saying every drug increases and complicates the patient's condition. And that's from Robert Henderson. It does. It really is fascinating with drugs. Because, of course, they do they're aimed at changing one thing specifically. So, and, I don't see, apart from antibiotics, which, I do think occasionally are very important to take, most drug interactions with the body are not beneficial. And, you could do it in a far, far more natural way to resolve your health. And Captain, I'm cracking form as always. I went to the doctor once, just the once. He said I was fit, strong, robust, never seen anyone so healthy. Changed my doctor straight away. I hate liars. And he just said don't say anything important for 20 minutes. I've got to pop out for some antipsychotics. Why does that not surprise me? That's the thing. So not antibiotics, antipsychotics. Okay. I think we might have some music actually. Let me see if Nick's around. We'll have some music. Let's see. Let's see if he responds or if he's listening. He might have gone out for a cigarette break, who knows. I know what you're doing, Nick. He goes out. Can you believe Nick, who rides shotgun with me and does all my technical stuff? It's absolutely brilliant. It's all in all honesty. He goes off and he has a cigarette. A cigarette. He goes off with a smoke and a coffee. I can't get over him. No, he's not around by the looks of things. So you're stuck with me for another few minutes, I'd say it. So I know from personal experience that when you now go to the doctor, the vaccination schedules are so packed that they end up administering not just one vaccination but a number in one go. Let me just switch off my mail program so it doesn't keep beeping. And this is just such a massive hit. People are getting one after another in one day. In fact, I've heard of children in one day getting 9 in one day. 9 vaccinations. What a massive assault on the immune system. And I can't believe people, who've got so much training in the body, anatomy and physiology, have so little regard for the immunity of the individual and the natural immunity that we all have and can build up over time. Okay. And the thing is, if you say you've got a reaction, they negate that experience, like I was saying. They put it down continuously to something else. They really, really do. It's not the jab that's the problem, actually. You were going to get it anyway, or you've picked it up from someone else. I have people coming to see me, and I can see the direct correlation between the vaccination and what they've now got. I can see it. And yet the doctor denies it's an issue. Absolutely will say, no, all the results come back clear. It's not a problem. And these poor people think they're going mad. This is the thing. Absolutely mad. They're being told ignore your intuition. Absolutely ignore it. Your intuition on your body and what you're feeling is absolutely wrong. And, it's such a shame about it. So I'm going to have a little bit of a break. And we're going to have PJ Harvey. Hey. And Nick's back. And we all know you're off for a cigarette, Nick, so there's no point in denying it. Yes, please. Hi, I'm back. I love to boogie. Mark Bolan. Yes. I do as well. I love to dance. Anyway, Lee saying the person who takes medicine must recover twice, once from the disease and once from the medicine. That's from William Osler. Indeed, I agree. Unfortunately. And let me see. So also Lisa, and the necessity of teaching mankind not to take drugs and medicines is a duty incumbent upon all who know their uncertainty and injurious effects, and the time is not far distant when the drug system will be abandoned. And that's from Charles Armbruster. I've never heard that one actually before. That's interesting. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice? From my perspective, it would definitely be nice, I have to say, as obviously a naturopath. I'm completely the other end of the spectrum, and I believe we should all be mini naturopaths. That's what I aim to. You know, when you come and see me, when anyone comes to see me, I always try and make sure that they're educated. I want everyone to become a mini naturopath. It's not a great business model, I'll be honest. I'm always putting myself out of business. Because people get better, which is fantastic, and they get better totally naturally, and they understand what's happening with their body and why. You know, I'm always really focused on that. You know, I don't hold information back from my clients. I always give it to them because I want them to be able to go forth and then, you know, be healthy for the rest of their lives. I don't want them to be dependent on me. Let me see. Yeah, Debbie, the best clause a doctor can use today is, well, they had underlying health problems. In other words, there was something we didn't see, so we invented some. I like to label things. I just find so many labels out there. I have to just ask, what's the symptom? How are you experiencing it in your body? Because, you know, people will come and they'll have this huge series of labels of medical conditions. I haven't even heard of 99% of them. And I just won't get into all that. I just ask, how are you experiencing it in your body? Because the body will experience it in certain ways, and then once you're clear on that, you can then deal with that holistically. You know, labels then take you off into, oh, that label means equals that medication. That label equals that medication. You have to do this for that and that for that. It's never that cut and dried. You know, it really isn't. Let me see. And Johnny's saying, don't forget the white coat. And apparently Josh has got a stethoscope. I don't even know what to say to that. So let me see where you're all at. You're going mad in the chat box. Fantastic. I think I'm going to lose you all in a minute because I can't read all of that out. And apparently the old woman downstairs doesn't like that track. Captain, what are you like, honestly? Anyway, keep chatting to each other, throw in all of your information into the chat box. You know I love it. Okay, now research, and I'm going to chat a little bit about research because it's the thing that's constantly thrown back about alternative medicine and holistic approaches, that there's no research and there's no scientific efficacy behind it, which is often not true. I spend a lot of my time reading actual research that's being done by the pharmaceutical companies and research that's being done in universities. It's often being done to grab a compound so that they can then, of course, turn it into medication. So there's stacks of research because they're often grabbing these compounds to use in their pharmaceuticals, and then, you know, once they're patented, they're saying that you can't go and use it naturally. Anyway, so there's lots and lots of research done, but there's little long-term research done on the injections of the flu vaccinations. This is the thing, you know, the long-term effects of injecting foreign bodies into the body has not been done. Be under no illusions about that. They're more interested in the short-term stuff, showing, oh, there's change, therefore off you go and take it. And this is often done with the flu vaccination and things like the swine flu vaccinations. And one of the latest pieces of research that came out of the University of Minnesota, published back in January 2012, was basically that they found flu vaccines, and I love their language. They say may not offer as much protection as previously thought. May not offer. It's basically doublespeak that often happens, let's face it, because it's a bit like recently there was a piece of research came out about aspartame, which was damning, absolutely damning, showing it was linked to cancer, direct correlation. And in effect, there was so much backtracking and there was so much double speak around it. It was unbelievable. In the end, it was like, oh, does it or doesn't it? Actually, the research shows it does, but hey, we don't want to say that because we don't want to scare everybody. No, we don't want to lose our profits. We don't want to impact on the manufacturing because there's some serious people involved with this, with the profiteering around this. So they say may. Now, the elderly, in particular, do not appear to receive measurable value from the flu shot. This is actually what they say. So the vaccinations that are pushed towards specific groups now, so they're always pushed towards the elderly. They're being pushed more towards pregnant women and children. Well, guess what? They may not offer as much protection as previously thought. This is their language. The elderly in particular do not, the value isn't as measurable as they thought it was going to be from that flu shot. And it's actually, this is, from this piece of research, it just supports other research that's out there. The same conclusions are being found over and over again. So whatever they're searching for it where it shows, oh, look at this, there's been a massive improvement. Actually, it never shows that. It's just never showed it. And these inactivated flu vaccinations are not even offering basically the protection, that much protection to children under the age of 7. And guess what? They're being pushed out now to children under that age group. These vaccinations are being pushed out to the elderly and children, and yet there is very little scientific support for them. The research just doesn't support it at all. Exercise your free will and say no, absolutely no to it. The most bizarre thing for me is when I listen to people who tell me they didn't want to have it. Oh, I don't want to have it, but my doctor's told me I have to. You know what? That's called choice. You can either say yes or no. No. The doctor's told me I've got to have it. Oh, do you really have to have it? What's going to happen? What are the consequences if you say no? The numbers of people who actually get flu every year are nowhere near as high as often they say either. Honestly. Anyway. Oh, you're talking about aspartame. I've got notes on aspartame today, so I might actually cover aspartame later. Let's see what else you're talking about. Stethoscopes are symbolic. I love you guys. Let me see what else. Ray, she has a 12-foot ceiling. How big is that room? Lee's asking. I'm just amazed anybody's bothered to actually live downstairs to Ray. Honestly. Oh, that's interesting. Aspartame, like Lee's saying, aspartame is now marketed as E951. Saw it yesterday on Lemsip's cold flu remedy. You don't need these cold flu remedies. It's just rubbish, honestly. Actually, I'm probably going to get sued for saying that from Lemsip's. There is somebody suing a nutritionist in the States at the moment for saying that the Monster energy drinks are actually dangerous for children. So, and they're suing the nutritionist. So maybe I need to couch that with, you know what, everything has a place, but I would suggest that you actually don't have Lemsip's cold flu remedies. Particularly if it's got aspartame in it. Blimey. The methanol in it turns to formaldehyde in the body. Really useful, as you can imagine, to have a formaldehyde in the body. It basically soaks into every tissue, muscle tissue.